Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel, and today I'm back here with another lovely F2 video. It's qualifying at Spielberg in Austria. Here of course in the lovely Prima car. That's the car chosen for the series as Robert Schwartzman. Dry once again
good.
for
We're looking at a dry session.
all three sessions still, as Dan Tickdom in the car lane starts to head out, one of the first out on track with, well, for a flyer, of course, in terms of the tyres this weekend. The choices, you've got your hards and your soft sauce for quali, and then for the racers, there's three sets of hards, sorry, and a set of softs. Expect to see a zero stop, all hards in the sprint race, and then in the feature race, probably a soft to hard strategy there. Probably going to be quite frustrating. I mean, you've got to do a pit stop there, but you're not really going to have too much tyre wear on the hard. So it'll be interesting to see when people pit, because the undercut will probably not be that powerful. The overcut could be pretty powerful. That's certainly always a good thing to try, is the overcut, because you get more tyres and you can get ahead of someone. So it's very, very effective, but it's very easy to go wrong. We are going to get out on track
right now. Let's get out on track while it's clear.
in a second for the first lap of the session, and we'll probably be able to go again later on, so hopefully we can go out there now and set something decent. Here we go then for our first flyer here in Austria in these lovely F2 cars. They react very differently to F1 cars. You'll have seen that already on the channel, and that is one of the ways they're a lot twitchier under braking. F1 cars generally braking quite solid. If you're going to lock up, you're just going straight ahead. F2 cars, however, can be a little bit different. You can easily lose them mid-corner. You've got to have good reaction times in these things. They're nice and sweet, but they can trick you. A very busy track at the moment, but we've got a very nice serving of space to use to try and set our first lap here in quali. Free practice, I felt pretty happy with it. You know, managed to get a couple of good laps in. Feeling good on the hards, not as much on the softs at the moment, actually. I think compared to the AI, we're a bit better on the hards than we are on the softs. And of course, quicker on the softs ourselves than the hards, but we don't really have much of an advantage when it comes to the softs. Nice to be here, though. It's a lovely track, isn't it? Spielberg, it's the shorter ones. You know, it's a lot shorter than quite a lot of the other tracks. Not the shortest, that of course goes to the street circuit in Monaco, but the shortest sort of purpose-built track, in a sense. Monaco not being one of them. Our lap this time round hasn't been too fantastic, and you've got to be wary in these sessions that tyre wear is high. You get this one set of tyres that you get for the session, you use them, you don't see them again, coming towards the end of our lap here, and it's not very quick. P10 only, despite the fastest sector 3. We are going to go again, and already catapulting ourselves onto the runoff at the first corner. Hopefully that helped a little bit. Slowest to start with, but of course generally it does take a while for us to get going. As I predicted, a lot more tyre wear on the softs than you would have thought, really. It is very, it's a bit slippery under braking. It's really, really abrasive on the tyres, and that's our rival, Viscal, who of course goes quickest. He is our championship rival at the moment, starting to form a little bit of a battle. And we had the advantage in Bahrain. He had it last time out in Imola. We're going to hopefully try to regain that advantage here today. That will help us, of course, for the feature race, and then in the sprint race, maybe we'd struggle a bit. We are going nicely this lap. The problem last lap was definitely Sector 1 and Sector 2. We've gone very nicely this lap in the first sector. Now we are rounding out the lap here with the final sector. Our final sector last lap was very tasty. This lap not as exquisite, but we're going to go a whole second quicker here. That's enough for P2, just by virtually anything, off our title rival. A bit of a shame. We're going to return to the pits to reserve tyres and maybe guard again, but P2 with Viscal leading, and we are behind by literally nothing here in quali today. Well, I have to say, it's not only Viscal who is looking good this weekend. Sato, after a very, very disappointing start to the season, P1 with the fastest lap. Wow, look at the top 5. Less than a 10 separating all of us. We're down to P4 at the moment. Finally, Oscar starting to get a good result in there. But Sato leads you with
We're top of the speed
Viscal
trap,
P2 for
181.9 miles per
Trident there.
hour.
P1 and 2, a front row lockout as it stands. Still plenty of time to go in this one, but the tyre wear is high around here, so it's going to be hard to go quicker. Probably going to go out just once more at the end of the session, having already done 2 laps. Oscar Piastri, our teammate, sits P3 with ourselves P4. Look at the gap between us. It's 0.003. You know, we were really good in the first sector, really good in the final sector, but the middle sector is where we're losing the time, and that proved costly. And at the moment, we are behind Viscal, our title rival, so it's okay, but it's not a disaster. It's not disastrous, but certainly not fantastic. Marcus Armstrong sits P5 ahead of Pouchet, who's been very consistent recently. P6, he'll be looking to get into the championship fight this weekend. Then Yuri Vips sits P7, the Estonian driver
Okay,
there.
remember that the way the car handles is all about weight transfer. When you brake, the centre of mass moves forward.
Thanks,
when you
Jeff.
accelerate, it moves rearward. And when you turn, it is pushed to the outside of the car. More load on each tyre equals more grip. So make sure you're smooth with the controls to prevent the weight transfer from becoming too violent.
Thanks a lot, Jeff. I didn't ask for a physics lesson, but I've got one anyway. So Eurovips P7, he's had some decent results so far. Dan Tickton P8 with Joe P9. Those two haven't had that great results so far this season. I think they both haven't scored yet. They'll be looking for something good. Both of them literally identical lap time. Identical lap time for that. I can't quite believe that. Identical lap time for Tickton and Joe. Those two, though, looking to recover from a poor start to this season, along with Christian Lundgaard, who has been sitting around at the bottom. Thankfully for him, he's now around P10. Then you've got Deruvela and a struggling Drugovic. Lawson, despite good results recently, down to P13. Somaya starting to improve. Nissany, P15, with Zendelli and Beckman, 16th and 17th. Both of them have been hanging around the top 10. Especially Zendelli, and now they're flying down the order. The Germans struggling here today in Austria. Fittipaldi sits P18, despite being near the top, especially in the sprint race. It's a bit of a surprise there. Aitken P19 with his teammate at HWA Race Lab, delayed at P20. That is a shock. Let's not forget that Delayed was P10 last time out in quali and dominated in the sprint race. That is pretty surprising to see him down there. Bostrung P21 with Vershaw rounding out the field once again, despite having a good start to the season, struggling near the bottom. We've had a very mixed up order and a front row lockout for Trident, P3 and P4 for Prema. 18 minutes left in the session. Ticktum currently out on track here, along with a struggling Rim Zendelli, as he is coming towards the end of his lap. So we're going to have a little look if he can improve, of course, in the standings. P10, P16, certainly not a reflection of what his pace has been this season, and that's enough for P14. Meanwhile, Ralph Boschung has started his lap. Vershaw exits the pits. Ticktum is looking to finish his third sector here. Let's see if he can improve on a very respectable P8. 18.5 in the first sector, 34.1 in the middle sector, third in the speed trap. Will he improve? Comes across the line. Doesn't improve, 1 minute 16, 9.26, and stays 8. So a very mixed support with Ticktum, Joe and Lundgaard being quite high up there. We are going to head out on track probably in a little bit for our final run, because we can't do too many runs on these tyres because it's already 13% wear. Let's not forget that a fresh set is already 2.7 tenths quicker. So we're going to go out towards the end of this session and have a final run in quali. Probably the order will have changed a bit by the time we go out then, with some drivers going for their second run in this session. Well, our final run in quali then, or final couple of runs here, but with already having about nearly 18% on the front left. You can see that tyre wear is high round here. We've gone out a bit earlier to be able to get maybe a couple of laps in. We still sit P4. No one else has gone out and managed to take a position in the top 4 as we've just slid off the first corner there. That is costly. We are going to go again straight after this one, but that is not how we wanted to start this lap here at Spielberg, and it is a very frustrating way to begin a lap, and we're not much better at the start of Sector 2 either. Don't really gain or lose anything. There, we could be on for a P4 on the grid, which is not bad at all. It's just the fact that Viscal is in front. He is the target for us, and we're certainly not really where we want to be. We're not finding pace this lap, so we will probably want to go again straight after it. Let's not forget that tyre wear is probably going to make next lap 2/10 slower than our best lap technically. But we are actually getting a lot more acceleration out of there, and we could go into the greens here. If we do go into the greens, any added time, any extra time shaven off our lap is going to make a massive difference here, because it is so close at the top, and that's enough to put us quickest. But, and I say but quite aggressively there, because this is just our run that we've done there. The other driver's still yet to complete their final run. Piastri has come out the pits in front of us. Our teammate, hopefully he doesn't slow us down on our second and final flyer on the second out time of the pit. Makes absolutely no sense there. We're going a bit quicker here. How much quicker can we go this lap though? That's the question, as then we get very, very shaky off that corner, a lockup, and we are not going to be able to go again after this because, you know, two reasons: we don't have enough fuel, and B, tyre wear is so high at the moment. And you can see actually we're going pretty nicely now. If we can get the acceleration off here, we've got to be aggressive on the throttle. We are aggressive on the throttle. Any 10th will do here. A 10th could be enough to keep us on pole if we can improve by a 10th on our previous lap here. That is the target. And now we're really pushing it through the final section. It's going to be a 10th quicker. We're going to go quicker. And it is a 1 minute 16.5. Piastri sits in front, our teammate. Hopefully he can do well here on his flyer. But, we've gone again. And we've improved to 1 minute 16.5. We'll have to return to the pits and see if Sato, Viscal, my teammate, Armstrong, can any of them go quicker or even an outsider here in quali. Come on, get in there. That is P1 in quali. Very, very happy with that, guys. I wasn't really expecting something that great out of quali here, because I just wasn't knowing how much pace we'd have, but that extra 2 laps we did paid off, and Sato, Viscal, Piastri didn't manage to improve. We take pole for Prima, with Trident, Sato and Viscal P2 and 3. They are going to be a force, but just behind them, my teammate Oscar Piastri there in P4. We have pole for the feature race, but of course it'd be reverse grid, so Piastri will be at the front of this 4 when we actually get into the sprint race. Armstrong sits P5. Nice to see that there. He, of course, doing pretty well in quality today for Dams. Not too bad, not too shabby. Eurovips P6 for High Tech Grand Prix, the Estonian, with Poucher P7, the French driver for ART, the highest of their 2 drivers, but both of them in the top 10 for once. So Poucher continues his great form, and Lungard managed to make it into the top 10, P10 for ART. He'll start on pole for the sprint race, giving him a good chance of some first points of this season. Tictum and Zhou both in the top 10, despite not scoring yet this season. Tictum P8, Wan Yu Zhou P9, bit of redemption for the start of this season. They've got a lot of work to do, though, in the final 3 weekends, one of which is here today in Spielberg. Jehan Daruvla P11 just missing out on the top 10, unlike his teammate. A frustrating place to finish, because P10 gets reversed to pole for the sprint race, but a solid result for the Indian, with Drugovic following behind for Uni Virtuosi Racing. A strong showing for Carlin and Virtuosi Racing, considering how much they've struggled this season. Liam Lawson, P13 for High Tech Grand Prix, the Australian, going decently well there. He would have been hoping probably for a bit more to be around his teammate, but just behind him, Larim Zendelli only managed P14. We saw him come across the line to take that position, kept it by the end, but the German, bit disappointing. You know, he's had some bad luck with mechanical failures already in previous races and that, is not exactly where he wanted to have qualified. Samaya, P15. Not too bad for him considering his previous results. Aitken for HWA Race Lab, P16. He's been hanging around there all season. He'll be wanting to try and improve 5/10 off the fastest lap of ourselves. Such a close field. Roy Nissany, P17 for Dams. His teammate, way up the order as usual, Armstrong. Nissany just not really finding the pace, sitting around the back. Beckman really hasn't managed to do well this session. P18. He has been around the top 10, just outside of it a few times. But today, P18, a bit disappointing for him. Certainly not to be in quali. With Enzo Fittipaldi, P19. Not too bad there from the Brazilian. Don't know why I said that, really. Not too bad, I suppose. Just, I thought he'd do a bit more. You know, he is quite a youngish driver there. And really, considering where his teammate has been, I think he's consistently been ahead of his teammate. And now his teammate's moved up. So he sort of is where his teammate is. So it's not an absolute disaster, really. But at the same time, it is a shame for him because Enzo it can be quite up there. You know, Fittipaldi up near the top. Scoring some points, you know, in sprint races definitely. Went with the reverse grid. Boschung, another disappointing result, P20. With Deleda for HWA Racer, P21. And we'll have a look at that. Let's see the standings here. Alessio Deleda, P3. Look at that. Fittipaldi, P4. Both of those outside the top 10. You know, this is pretty mad there. You look further down the order. And Deleda in the top 10. In the standings, he's in P4. You know, but now 21st is really frustrating for him. He could plummet down the order this race weekend. With Richard Verschaw, P22, rounding out the grid for MP Motorsport. Bit disappointing considering his results earlier in the season, but that is your grid. We take 4 more points, which extends our lead to Bent Viscal to 23, which is looking like a pretty tasty one heading into the race as we have 69 points. He has 46. Deleda ahead of Fittipaldi. It's going to be very interesting. Let's not forget that Piastri really up there on the grid, P4. Sato, P2. Sato still yet to score. Fittipaldi with just 28 points. Those two will be looking for a bit of redemption to catch up to, well, Piastri to myself and Sato to Viscard. But with only 12 different drivers scoring points, it's good to see the likes of Sato, Ticktum, Lundgaard, Zhou starting up in the top 10. Hopefully they can get some points in the feature race and, of course, before that, the sprint race. But we're on pole. 2/10 ahead of Sato. What a quali. Really nice and close, as always. Fun quali. We managed to go really well around here, actually. I was very happy. Good consistency. It was fun to drive. A lot more fun than Imola. I didn't really particularly enjoy Imola. It's quite difficult in the F2 cars. It just kept sliding all over the place. But this was pretty nice. I enjoyed it. Hope you guys have enjoyed the video too. If you're enjoying the videos, hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel. Totally free. It really helps me out. But thanks a lot for watching. And I'll catch you next time in this series when we get into a 14-lap sprint race here in Austria. But I'll see you later, guys.